Both as President of the Court and as the judge elected in respect of Ireland, I'm delighted that 20 years since the establishment of the bursary, McCarthy Scholars continue to come to the European Court of Human Rights for 6-week placements. Given that one of the aims of the scholarship is to encourage a better understanding of human rights law, it's fitting that barristers-to-be spend some time with us in Strasbourg and get a taste of what our legal and judicial work is like. The bursary necessarily expands professional and personal horizons. In some beneficiaries, I hope it plants a seed of interest in later work on the other side of the bench before which they will soon plead. Irish legal education devotes a considerable time to fundamental rights, both constitutional and convention-based. The McCarthy Scholars who come to the court have already engaged with these areas of law and are familiar with key notions and principles. But it's quite another thing to observe firsthand the work of an international court tasked with interpreting and applying the European Convention in 46 states, a court with quite distinct structures, procedures and working methods. Scholars get a chance to reflect on the strong parallels between Irish constitutional and convention jurisprudence, as well as on their different perspectives and emphasis in a given field or a given case. The placement, while short, seeks to give the visiting barristers who work with registry legal staff and the incumbent Irish judge an insight into the court's role and judicial interaction between Ireland and Strasbourg. We try to ensure that they get to work on one or more pending applications, discussing the legal issues raised by an applicant, drafting some legal text, understanding the different judicial formations, from single judges to the Grand Chamber of 17 judges, which deal with the thousands of applications pending before us. During my time at the Strasbourg Court, and despite the pandemic-induced pause, I've had the privilege to welcome over half a dozen McCarthy Scholars. I've been particularly struck by their intellectual curiosity and rigour, and by their motivation when applying for the bursary and setting out as young barristers, some of whom also take on academic work. I hope that Ruth McCarthy, with whom I was in correspondence earlier in the year, won't mind if I share with you why I consider it a real honour to be associated with the bursary in her parents' memory. The beneficiaries of the bursary are invariably bright, motivated, and, I think an important point, often first-generation lawyers. In a small country like Ireland, they're often students who have had the courage to train as barristers and to break into a legal life, initially centred in Dublin, which is not always as inclusive as one would wish in the third decade of the 21st century. If an interest in the human dimension of the law and its human consequences sums up the late Judge McCarthy's legal essence, he would be rightly proud, in my view, to see this interest alive and well amongst the McCarthy Scholars who have been supported by the bursary. The European Court of Human Rights is extremely proud to support the bursary and to be part of this unique partnership with the King's Inns and the McCarthy family. I very much hope that I and my successors will be able to welcome future generations of McCarthy Scholars and contribute in our small way to their professional and personal development, and with that, to the future of the Irish Bar.